Hello there everybody, it is me XFreezerBunny and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. So today we're back with another collab and this time we're working with a really good friend of mine on YouTube. His name is Ollie and he has a YouTube channel called WrongWay. So a couple of weeks ago, I asked Ollie if he wanted to do a collab with me. So we both decided to work together and build a duplex. So we have this lot and we were gonna build 2 houses on this lot. Unfortunately, Ollie had some difficulty and some technical problems with his recording software, so he wasn't able to record the video of him building his part of the collab, which is kind of a bummer because he actually finished the collab. He just wasn't able to record a video for his channel, so that's really sad. But that being said, this is a finished collab, and if you guys want to download the finished version of this house, it is going to be up on the gallery. I will put links to that in the description below, as well as links to the partially finished version of this house as well. And I will also put links to Ollie's channel in the description below for those of you guys who are interested to check him out. And I highly suggest you guys do so because he is very, very creative. And I'm just telling you guys to watch out because I'm definitely going to be working with him a lot more in the future. So, in case you guys didn't know what a duplex is, a duplex apparently is supposed to be a pair of houses that share a common wall with each other, if that makes any sense. I guess that's the simplest way I could probably put it. I think it's so interesting because the very first time I actually encountered what a duplex was when I came across this movie. I think it was playing on HBO or something. I think it was in the mid-2000s when I was in high school or something. I saw this movie, it looked really interesting, and on the title screen it said duplex. And then eventually, a couple of years later, I realized that a duplex was actually a type of house. So I thought that it was a really interesting challenge to build because when I was doing my research, duplexes usually tend to be mirror images of each other. Like, they literally look like the same exact house, only mirror images of the other one. But for this case, we went for something that's a little bit different than normal because we went for a similar aesthetic for both of our townhouses, but each one is definitely different from the other, and I thought that that was a really interesting mix of both of our aesthetics, Ollie and I. So I started actually the build, obviously, and for some reason I was really drawn to doing a modern slash urban slash, I guess, a little bit of industrial style as well. I think the reason for that is because recently I have been doing a lot of traditional suburban themed builds on my channel. So I wanted to mix it up a bit and do something modern and do something urban and do something that was kind of like street industrial type of thing. So that's what I was trying to go for. At first, actually, I went for this shed type roof, but it came across really pretentious because the shed type roof looked really big and looked really overwhelming for some strange reason. So I will actually change that up later on into a gable roof. For the actual shape of the house itself, I actually did a lot of play with different levels and different surfaces and different protrusions and stuff like that, different cantilevers, because I really wanted to play with depth and dimension. So you guys can see that there's a lot of different surfaces and levels and heights using, different fences and different half walls. And I think that really made it look really interesting and modern. And I think that the play of light and shadow looks really effective, especially on the cantilevered parts. So this is the part where I'm actually starting to choose the wallpaper for the exterior. And at first I actually chose a variety of different windows, but I realized towards the end of building the exterior that it was getting a little bit too incoherent. Like, using so many different windows didn't make the house look unified at all. So I will actually replace the windows later on into a more uniform type of windows. So for the wallpapers, I chose this one really awesome wallpaper. It's this brick type wallpaper that came with Dine Out, and it's by far one of my favorite wallpapers. It is so beautiful, and what I love about it is it has this really interesting texture. The texture, you can almost feel it. It has like this really tactile quality to it that I'm really drawn to. That's why I really liked using that brick type wallpaper that came with Dine Out. And then I also used some of these almost like navy blue grayish wallpaper wood panels. I believe these came with Spa Day or Outdoor Retreat. I'm pretty sure it came with Spa Day for sure, but it's like the navy blue wallpaper, and I thought that gave the house a really interesting color on the outside. And then I used this black brick wallpaper that came with fitness stuff. I know for a fact that came with fitness stuff. And then inside of these window cantilevers, there's a little hint of light wood textures. And I also used those enlarged bookshelves, or those enlarged shelves, to add a little bit more detail to the window cantilevers. So since I was going for a more modern aesthetic, I definitely made sure to choose materials that are pretty indicative of the style that I wanted to go for, which is the modern style. So definitely a lot of concrete, steel, and glass, which are trademark materials of modernist architecture. And also I used a lot of brick textures to add a little bit more dimension and depth to the overall house. And I think because I used some bricks, it made the overall house look really industrial, I guess. And I'm just placing in this black fence over here around the perimeter of our property, because I do feel like fences are pretty effective, especially if you use them in townhouses. I think they look really good, and I think they really give that aspect of realism to the house. So at this point, I pretty much changed my mind about the roof, and I'm trying to figure out what would be a more interesting style of roof to replace the original option. And I went for this one gable roof, but what's really interesting about it is that I actually put the gable on the side as opposed to facing the front, and I thought that was a really modern and effortless look to the house, and I'm really happy. It's actually not that often that I see this kind of roof, but overall it had a really nice effect. And also I'm using this really interesting detail with the roof trims, where I used them together with these simple white columns to frame all of the different materials on the outside. And I thought that was a really interesting effect, because the outside has a lot of different materials combined together, and I'm using these white roof trims alongside the simple white columns to actually kind of like frame the materials, and I thought that really emphasized the materials, and I really liked how that came out. It's a really minor detail as well. You guys can see me put a lot of effort on making those roof trims go where I want them to, and putting those columns on the edges of the materials and stuff. It's a lot of work actually, but I'm very much willing to put more effort because I'm more happy with the end result that way. And I think at this point I am changing a lot of the windows into these more simpler windows because I just really liked the look of the simpler ones. It made the entire house look more coherent, which is always something that I go for in all of my builds. Anyway, some technical information about the house. The house itself has, I believe, 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And I made this house for a couple who both work as professionals. And I imagine the couple who live here to really work serious jobs. I'm using air quotes. Serious jobs is in jobs in the medical career and also jobs in the law enforcement career. So I imagine one person who living here to be a doctor and then the other one to be more of like a detective, or I guess like a police officer, or like somebody who works in like the sheriff's office or something like that. And the story is that both of these people are actually really into nerdy stuff like sci-fi and crime thrillers and stuff like that. They're really into reading those kinds of comic books growing up. And they're both very smart as well. They're both very intelligent academically. So there's actually a lot of those kinds of details incorporated into the decoration of the house. You guys will see some movie posters, and you guys will see a lot of like logical equipment and stuff like that. And I really wanted to make a house for a couple that's really, that's very similar to each other, but at the same time very different. Like, they're both very smart. They both like the same things, but at the same time they both have their individual personalities. And I hope that I was able to get that across for you guys. So right now we are pretty much working on the interior, and that garage is actually going to remain empty. There's literally going to be nothing there except for actually like some clutter items, but other than that, there's really nothing in the garage. And yeah, I'm just pretty much figuring out the floor plan over here. I think what's really interesting about the second floor is that there is this open to below area, which I actually really have had a lot of fun doing. And for the ground floor, it's mostly open plan, which is another feature of modern architecture, actually, the open floor plan. Perfect if you want natural lighting and ventilation to make the house energy efficient. I'm getting too technical on this. But yeah, for the ground floor, it's mainly open plan. It's like the living room, dining room, and the kitchen are pretty much all in one room, but I did some really interesting things to really delineate the space here. And I'm using some really interesting wallpaper and wall textures here. I go for this mainly black, white, and gray color scheme with some wooden accents as well. So we also have a black wooden floor, and then on some areas I put some tiles underneath the fireplace and also on the main entrance as well, where I thought that it would be good to have like a stone floor instead of a wooden floor. And this is where I'm making kind of like a partition between the living area and the dining area over here. So I really wanted to be creative with it. So instead of dividing the rooms by walls, I just put like one central pillar in the middle, and then I put like this really nice bookshelf in between, so you can kind of see the dining area from the living room, and vice versa. You can kind of see it without like giving everything away, and I thought that looked really interesting. And I believe that the dining room is gonna have a navy blue color scheme, and for the kitchen it's mainly gonna have a gray color scheme. So yeah, I just tried to keep everything as simple as I can. So at first, when I was furnishing the living room, I wanted to have different kinds of sofas and stuff because I didn't want to use like the same set of sofas at first. But eventually I didn't like how kind of disorganized everything looked, because this house was designed for a couple that's really have specific tastes. I definitely wanted to make sure to make everything as cohesive as possible. Like, maybe on their free time, this couple could actually go out and choose their furniture together because they both have OCD. And, like, I don't know, they're just such a perfectionist couple, being overachievers. I definitely imagined them to pick out a furniture set that would be really matchy-matchy. So at first I was really reluctant to choose a matching furniture set, but eventually I did go for it. So you guys can see that the sofa's love seat and lounge chairs actually match all of it. I actually match. There we go. I do believe I changed the love seat into a matching one. So pretty much working on the dining area, I just went ahead and chose this really modern dining table that I really love. I believe it came with fitness stuff. And I also choose these dining chairs that came with City Living. And I did choose the black and wood combination because I did have some wood accents in the living room, and I thought that wooden chair tied everything together really well. And I think I also put a bar area like right next to this wall. I have actually seen a lot of people do these to bars. I've never done these a lot before, putting bars like against the wall, but apparently it works. So I put that there. I thought that was a really interesting bar to have because it had this like brick texture. It's the bar that came with Perfect Patio stuff, and it has this really interesting brick texture that I thought really brought together all the different all the different materials that I've had all throughout the house, and I really liked how that bar area came together. And I also put this really nice shelf with some liquor or some nectar in it. So working on the kitchen, like I said earlier, I went for a predominantly gray color scheme, and I think that this is the first time I'm actually using those counters that I believe came with Get to Work. And I actually did mismatch counters with this one because the counter cabinets are actually from Spa Day. So that was a really interesting combination because the colors of both those counters are actually pretty cohesive. I believe that the kitchen counters are actually more of a metallic color, and then the Spa Day cabinets are actually more of like a grayish wood. So if you actually look closely, they are different materials, and I thought that was a really interesting play on different materials and stuff. And of course, with every kitchen that I make, I just have to put this nice little island counter in the middle and just adding in a bunch of clutter as well. By the way, I love using those walls that came with Parenthood as a backsplash for the kitchen. They're absolutely perfect, and I definitely think that we need more of walls like those in future expansion packs or game packs because they're just so useful. And then this is the point where I was beginning to choose the different posters that I wanted to incorporate in the house. Like I said, the couple who live here are both really into comics and sci-fis and mysteries and thrillers and stuff, so I definitely wanted to include those posters that were kind of Easter eggs to that. I'm pretty sure that poster on the dining room is supposed to be like a Sims reference to Ghostbusters, I think, and then the other one on the living room is supposed to be a reference to like a Little Shop of Horrors. So working on the second floor, I definitely carried on that one pillar on the ground level, and I made sure to have it on the second floor as well. So I am pretty much just dividing the 2 bedrooms upstairs, making sure that there are enough space for 2 bathrooms. Oh my gosh, I stand corrected. I built this like a couple of weeks ago, so I forgot. There's actually 2 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. 2 full bathrooms and 1 half bathroom. There is actually a powder room downstairs, which I totally forgot when I was explaining it to you guys earlier. But yeah, I actually finished this build maybe almost like a month ago. So I don't quite remember everything, but I mean, I'm pretty sure I remember most of the things. And one thing that I definitely remembered is how small the master bedroom turned out to be. Unfortunately, it could definitely be bigger, but I just didn't have enough space to do anything with it. But it's a very good size bedroom, and it's also very elegant as well. Once again, I'm carrying on with the black and white color scheme, which is another thing that, definitely the owners were very hands-on in choosing the color scheme. And yeah, I think that overall everything came together really cohesively and really coherently. Like, it's all this, like, the point of view of the people choosing these is very clear. They have a very specific taste, and they're very consistent, and they're very aware of what they like and of what they don't like. So hopefully that comes across in this build. And yeah, the master bedroom's actually very simple, but it does have this really interesting detail of the headboard behind the bed. I actually used this ombre wallpaper, and it's so beautiful. I believe that wallpaper came with like a patch actually a couple of months back. I was actually really happy with how the master bathroom came together. I'm only going to show this master bathroom furnishing because the other bathrooms, I'm going to cut those out because I want this to be as time efficient as possible. And I feel like furnishing bathrooms tend to be very repetitive and redundant. That's why I usually just edit out a lot of the footage when I'm furnishing bathrooms. But like I said, I was really happy with how spacious the master bathroom came together. I definitely wanted to use these double sinks. And yeah, I just definitely wanted to have a lot of space and a lot of detail. And I also wanted to look like glamorous and urban at the same time, so you guys can see a lot of like really interesting details. So furnishing this guest bedroom, I'm just gonna call it the guest bedroom because I really didn't furnish it for anybody in particular. This bedroom has a single bed, and let me tell you guys that it was a little bit awkward to furnish at first because it had like really interesting proportions. This was like an L-shaped room, and it had like a bunch of different style windows, and it was really difficult to make everything coherent and stuff. But I'm really happy that I chose some interesting items to go together in this room because overall it ended up looking really interesting, even though most of the items were white. I know it's like the most boring thing ever to have like a purely white room, but there are a bunch of really interesting details. By the way, let me tell you guys that it drove me absolutely crazy choosing the curtains for this room because it just came really awkward. So I actually ended up removing one of the windows in that one corner and just leaving the wall blank for a painting. And yeah, I think that overall the finished product looked a lot better than how I initially started it. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. So I believe this is the last part of the interior that we're going to be furnishing, and this is kind of like the upstairs hallway / landing area. And at this point I realized that there wasn't really any space for a working area, like to have a computer, and I did feel like that having a computer was really important for our law enforcement person, so I did put a computer area over here. So for the backyard furnishing, I did keep it really simple. I only wanted to have a spot for a hot tub and also a little spot for a barbecue outdoor dining area. So I did make sure to include those two outdoor spots over here. And yeah, once again, I just made it look really effortless and, you know, something that's also very coherent with everything going on the outside. I mean, on the inside as well as everywhere else in this house. But yeah, most of the color schemes are once again black, white, and gray. And oh my gosh, I can feel like people are already hating me because I'm using like the exact same color scheme. But once again, people who live here have like a very specific aesthetic and taste. So they really know what they want, okay? Like I'm stressing out over like what people are gonna say in the comments because every time I make everything matchy, people always say really mean things. I mean, whatever. I mean, I don't really let that affect me too much. But yeah, there's this really nice outside dining area. I also put that like stove light over there because I really enjoy using that. And over here, you guys can see me do a little bit of landscaping, not too much. You know, like I think I actually included all of the landscaping actually. I take that back. Because usually when I do my speed builds, I tend to do minimal landscaping and I usually don't finish the landscaping in my videos, but I do think that I finish it in this one actually. Let's see. So yeah, I just chose some really interesting plants, a little bit more modern selection of plants. So lots of grass and lots of like I don't know, just lots of like bushes and grass not hedges. I'm like shrubs. Bushes, grass, and shrubs is what I'm trying to say. And also for this front landscaping area, I also put like a fountain actually. I felt like there needed to be something dynamic happening, so I really wanted to incorporate this like round fountain that came with Spa Day. And I just put like a nice small tiny fountain over here. Looks very like comic-y if I do say so myself, you know. It looks very, I don't know, looks like it could be a logo for like a superhero or something. So I really like that nice little detail over there. And it looks like the only things that we're going to be doing are placing these outdoor lights so that people could actually see anything. So yeah, But other than that, I don't think there's anything else to do for the rest of this build. So I'm going to go ahead and actually wrap up my commentary right here. Hopefully you guys enjoy this build as well. Once again, if you guys are interested to check out Ollie's channel, I will put link to that as well as the download to both versions of this duplex in the description below. Okay, so yeah, if you guys want to support the channel, don't forget to hit that like, favorite, and subscribe button because it really helps out a lot. You all have an awesome day. Thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of the video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.